So, you decided to pick up fighting games. Now it's time to decide which one you're gonna play. Wait, you don't know which one to pick up? Well, no worries, I can help. Fighting games can play vastly different, depending on the title. And to help you find your ideal fighting game, I split these gameplay differences into multiple categories. Now, some games I'm gonna list is gonna fit multiple categories, but to keep things simple, I just kept them in one. As the title suggests, fast-paced fighting games have very quick and nimble movement. These fighting games require quick and on-the-fly decision-making. A lot of anime fighting games follow this kind of gameplay. These kind of fighting games give pressure to a lot of beginners as they can't keep up with something they don't really understand. But the intermediate and the veterans, it's a huge adrenaline rush. Some examples of these fast-paced fighting games are BlazBlue, where many characters have varying movement options that makes maneuvering across the screen unique. There's also Multiple, where you have movement options like ground and air dodges, air dashes, double jumps, super jumps, and even triple jumps in certain situations. If you want a feel of swift and in-the-moment gameplay, the fast-paced fighting games are for you. BlazBlue and Multiple were only two examples, but there's so much more out there, so don't be afraid to do some digging for your more if you're interested. Slow-paced fighting games gives a more calming and precise gameplay experience. The focus of this kind of play is for you and your opponent to play patiently and capitalize on mistakes or sloppy decision making. These games aren't focused on movement or long combos. Street Fighter is the pioneer of this kind of play. Sure, the game definitely has its crazy shenanigans, especially Street Fighter V with V-Trigger in play, but all in all, this series displays slow but careful gameplay. There's also Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. Despite the anime aesthetic, the game is extremely grounded and doesn't focus on being too crazy in terms of mechanics, but is still an enjoyable experience. Veterans tend to recommend these kind of games to beginners because it isn't too focused on combos and teaches you the fundamentals of fighting games. High damage fighting games focus on one thing and one thing only. Make sure you kill your opponent as quickly as possible with huge damage. One touch could possibly lead to your downfall. If you make the wrong decision, you can possibly die without getting to play the game. Recent examples would be both Guilty Gear Strive and DNF Duel. These games are notable for their explosive damaging combos. There's also Samurai Showdown that plays a lot slower than the previously mentioned games, but rewards each hit with huge damage despite its lack of long combos. There isn't much else to talk about these kind of games, but if they interest you, don't be afraid to play them. Team games are fighting games where you put multiple characters on a team and they work together to get the win. These games can be split into two subcategories, 3-on-3 and tag fighters. 3-on-3 fighters are actually played as 1v1 matches, however, after each round is lost, another character is switched in place of the character that just lost the previous round. Capcom vs SNK and King of Fighters are two games that use this format for team fighters. Then there's tag fighters. In these games, you're able to call upon teammates mid-game to help you out. We call this mechanic assist. You're also able to switch your current character out to anyone else on your team in the middle of the fight. This makes tag fighters a bit more complex and hectic compared to 3v3 games. Think of Marvel vs Capcom or Dragon Ball Fighters. 3-on-3 and tag fighters share the trait of having the first character be in charge of giving the rest of your characters the advantage while also keeping the lead, while the rest of your team is responsible for cleaning up the mess or making the comeback. There's also the aspect of team building, as certain characters can enable others to do more than what they're capable of. If this intrigues you, then try out team games. Not to be confused with arena fighters, 3D fighting games allow you to sidestep, changing between the foreground and background. These games tend to have a balance of unique movement, patient neutral, and sometimes big damage. Think of games like Tekken, Soul Calibur, or Virtua Fighter. If you want a little bit of everything, I think 3D fighters are good for you. As I said before, not every game fits just one specific category. Many games I have given examples for fit more than one. The main takeaway is that knowing how a game is played is the easiest way to find out which fighting game sounds more appealing to you. Hopefully I broke these games down in a more digestible fashion for those who aren't familiar with fighting games. And hopefully this video helps you find a game that you actually like.